My name is Lila, 34 years old, and I've spent a lifetime proving myself to a family that sees only my struggles. I sit in my penthouse office, the city lights twinkling below, holding an invitation to a family dinner, creased from my grip, a summons to their judgment. They called me poor at that dinner, their words a dagger I've carried for weeks, but the waiter's unexpected greeting turned the tide. I own the restaurant where they mocked me, a secret I've guarded, and now it's my weapon. My anger simmers, a plan forming to turn their insult into their lesson, though the path ahead remains uncharted. Growing up, I was the overlooked one in a family that valued appearances over effort. My older brother, Marcus, with his flashy sales job and designer suits, was the golden child. Our parents, middle-class social climbers, doted on his charm, while I toiled through odd jobs to fund my hospitality degree. I dreamed of owning a restaurant, sketching menus late at night, while Marcus flaunted his bonuses. After college, I started as a server, working my way up, saving every penny. My family shrugged, Lila's just a waitress, their pity a constant hum. I moved to the city, determined to prove them wrong. My breakthrough came 5 years ago. I bought a struggling bistro with a loan, renaming it Lila's Table. The first year was brutal, long hours, near bankruptcy, but my innovative farm-to-table concept and cozy ambience drew crowds. Profits grew, and last year, I expanded to 3 locations, my net worth quietly surpassing Marcus's. I kept it low-key, avoiding family brags, letting them assume I was still scraping by. The penthouse and my sleek Mercedes were my private victories, hidden from their scrutiny. The dinner invitation came from Mom, a rare gathering to catch up. I hesitated, knowing their jabs, but agreed, craving a connection. The venue was my flagship Lila's Table, a choice I didn't disclose, testing their perception. I arrived in a modest outfit, jeans and a blazer, blending with staff, my ownership a secret. The table was set with Marcus, his wife Sophia, Mom, and Dad, their laughter filling the air. I slid into my seat, greeted warmly but with an edge. The meal began with small talk, then turned. Marcus, sipping wine, smirked, still waiting tables, Lila? We're worried about you. Sophia giggled, poor Lila, always struggling. Mom nodded, you should let Marcus help. Dad chimed in, maybe alone? Their words hit like a slap, their assumption of my poverty a mirror to years of neglect. I forced a smile, my stomach churning, but stayed silent, plotting. The waiter, Carlos, my head manager, approached, his eyes widening in recognition. Welcome back, owner, he said loudly, bowing slightly, the room quieting. Marcus choked on his wine, Sophia's laugh fading, Mom's fork clattering. I leaned back, letting the moment sink in. Yes, this is my place, I said, my voice steady. Lila's Table, 3 locations, doing quite well. Their jaws dropped, Dad's face reddening, Mom's hands trembling. I signaled Carlos to bring the financials, last quarter's $500,000 profit statement, and handed it around. The silence was deafening, their mockery replaced by shock. I excused myself, retreating to the kitchen to compose myself, the staff's respectful nods a contrast to family disdain. My phone buzzed with work updates, a new investor interested, and I screenshot it, adding to my leverage. That night, I drafted a plan, expose their ignorance publicly, demand an apology, use my ownership to shift their narrative. The waiter's words had flipped the script, and I was ready to build on it. Their reaction was the start, and I anticipated the next move with a mix of anger and strategy. The moment Carlos said welcome back, owner still rang in my ears as I slipped into the kitchen, my heart pounding with a mix of triumph and disbelief. I woke the next morning in my hotel room, the profit statement crumpled on the nightstand, a tangible proof of my secret success. My family's shocked faces, Marcus choking, Sophia's laugh dying, Mom's trembling hands, had shifted the ground beneath us, and I knew the fallout would be swift. My plan had ignited with that waiter's words, and I was ready to stoke it, turning their insult into a reckoning they couldn't ignore. The next steps were hazy, but my resolve was unshakable. The dinner resumed with an awkward hush after my revelation. Guests whispered, some casting admiring glances, others avoiding my gaze. Marcus recovered first, his voice strained. Lila, this is a joke, right? I shook my head, sliding the profit statement back to him. $500,000 last quarter, Marcus. Check the books. Sophia's eyes narrowed, you hit this? Mom intervened. "We didn't know, dear," her tone a mix of apology and confusion. Dad stayed silent, his fork idle, the weight of their misjudgment settling. I excused myself again, retreating to the kitchen where Carlos awaited, his grin wide. "They're stunned, boss," he said. I nodded, plotting my next move. That night, my phone erupted. Marcus texted, "Explain this, now." Mom called, her voice shaky. "Lila, why didn't you tell us? This changes everything." I kept my response measured. "You assumed I was poor. I proved otherwise." Dad emailed a formal request for a family meeting, his tone curt. I agreed, scheduling it for the next day, and prepared a presentation, financials, restaurant photos, staff testimonials, ready to cement my stance. I also contacted my lawyer, Rachel, outlining the insult and my intent to demand an apology and compensation. She suggested a public statement, and I drafted one, holding it back for the right moment. The family meeting was held at their house, the living room a battlefield of old memories. Marcus arrived with Sophia, their confidence shaken, while Mom and Dad sat stiffly. I opened with the profit statement, projecting it on their TV. "This is Lila's table, 3 locations, my creation," I said, my voice steady. "You called me poor, but I own this." Marcus scoffed, "You are flaunting now?" I countered, "I'm correcting your narrative." Mom teared up, "We're sorry, Lila," but Dad interrupted, "This is excessive." I presented my terms: $20,000 for emotional distress, a public apology at a family event, leaving the room silent. The confrontation escalated. Sophia snapped, "You're punishing us for a joke." I held up my phone, playing a recording from the dinner, Marcus's poor Lila quip, their laughter. "This wasn't a joke," I said. Marcus paled, "You recorded us?" Rachel had advised it legally, and I nodded. Dad relented, "We'll pay $10,000 and apologize," a compromise I accepted, recording their agreement. They signed a draft apology, their hands trembling, and I left, the victory bittersweet. At Lila's table, the fallout fueled my focus. Staff buzzed with pride, and I launched a loyalty program, boosting revenue by 15%. My social media post, "Proud owner of Lila's table, thriving despite family doubts," went viral, garnering support from strangers. Comments praised my grit, "You showed them!" and I saved them, adding to my narrative. A food critic visited, raving about the ambience, and my booking doubled. I recorded a podcast, From Waitress to Owner, its downloads hitting 30,000, reinforcing my rise. Elisa's retaliation came next. She leaked an old photo of me in a stained apron, captioning it, "The Real Lila." Trolls mocked, but my team countered with a video tour of the restaurants, my leadership shining. I filed a cease and desist, Rachel drafting it swiftly, and Elise backed down, deleting the post. I captured the evidence, my legal leverage growing. Marcus called, apologetic, "Elise went too far. Can we talk?" I agreed, sensing a crack in their united front. The next family event, a cousin's engagement party, became my stage. I arrived with Carlos, his presence a flex of my authority. During toasts, Dad read the apology, his voice halting, "We regret calling Lila poor and overlooking her success." The room clapped, Marcus nodding reluctantly, Sophia silent. I spoke briefly, "This is my table now," and distributed podcast links, my influence spreading. Mom hugged me, tearful, "We are proud." I felt a shift, but held my guard. My plan was taking shape, a blend of financial proof and public validation. Their insult had backfired, and I was ready to push further. The apology was a start, and I anticipated their next move, acceptance or defiance, with cautious hope. They wouldn't expect my sustained strength, and I was prepared to see it through. The engagement party toast lingered in my mind, the fragile applause and Mom's tearful hug a bittersweet echo as I returned to the city. I woke each morning in my penthouse, the framed apology letter beside the profit statement, a dual reminder of my victory and the battles ahead. The family's reluctant shift, Dad's grudging respect, Marcus's muted apology, Elisa's retreat, had opened a door, but I sensed unresolved tension. My plan was gaining momentum, and I was ready to deepen the reckoning, turning their insult into a lasting lesson. The path forward was uncertain, but my determination was ironclad. The days following the party brought a flurry of reactions. Dad called, his voice softer. "Lila, the family's talking. Let's formalize this. I agreed to a meeting, proposing a written contract, $10,000 paid, a public acknowledgement of my success, and a family dinner to seal it. Mom texted, "We're trying, dear," her words laced with guilt. Marcus reached out. Elise is rethinking her stance. "Can we meet alone?" I set a time, wary but curious, and prepared a dossier, restaurant reviews, financial growth charts, podcast stats, ready to reinforce my position. Rachel reviewed my terms, suggesting a non-disclosure clause to prevent future leaks. The meeting with Marcus was tense, held at a neutral cafe. He arrived disheveled, his usual swagger gone. "Elise is furious," he began, "but I see your point." I slid the dossier across the table, its pages detailing Lila's Table's rise, $750,000 profit this quarter, a Michelin nod pending. "This is my worth, Marcus," I said. He flinched. "We underestimated you." I outlined my demands, adding a condition: he'd work a shift at the restaurant to understand my grind. He hesitated, then nodded, "If it helps." We drafted an agreement, his signature shaky, and I recorded it, a legal safeguard. At Lila's Table, success surged. The Michelin review came through, a 1-star rating that doubled reservations. My team celebrated, and I launched a chef collaboration, boosting revenue by 20%. The podcast, From Poverty to Power, hit 75,000 downloads, its latest episode on family redemption drawing tears. Comments praised my journey, "You were a beacon!" And I shared clips with family, their silence telling. A TV producer contacted me for a cooking show pitch, and I accepted, the exposure a new platform. Carlos managed the chaos, his loyalty a rock, and I promoted him to co-owner, sharing 10% equity. Elise's retaliation escalated. She orchestrated a smear campaign, hiring a blogger to dig into my past, unearthing a bounce check from my early days. The post gained traction, trolls jeering, but my legal team struck back with a defamation suit, forcing a retraction. I countered with a live Instagram tour of the restaurants, my staff stories of my leadership silencing the noise. The suit settled out of court, Elise paying $5,000 in damages, which I donated to a culinary scholarship. Marcus called, apologetic, "She went too far. I'm done defending her." I sensed a rift, a crack to exploit. The family meeting convened at Lila's Table, a symbolic choice. Dad, Mom, and Marcus attended, Elise absent. I projected the financials, the Michelin star gleaming on screen. "This is my legacy," I said. "You called me poor, but I built this." Dad nodded, "We were wrong, Lila." Mom added, "We are proud now," her tears genuine. Marcus offered, "I'll work the shift." They signed the contract, $10,000 check handed over, a public toast planned, and I recorded it, the moment sealed. The staff served a special menu, their respect a contrast to family past. The public acknowledgement came at a charity gala I hosted, Lila's Table's profits funding it. Dad read the toast, "We apologize for calling Lila poor and celebrate her success." The crowd clapped, Marcus serving drinks in an apron, his humility striking. Mom hugged me, "You've changed us." I felt a thaw, but kept my guard, distributing gala photos to the podcast community. The cooking show deal finalized, its pilot airing next month, my face now public. My plan was blossoming, a mix of legal wins, public validation, and personal growth. Their insult had ignited my rise, and I was ready to push further. The gala marked a pivot, and I anticipated their next move, full acceptance or lingering resistance, with cautious hope. They wouldn't expect my sustained dominance, and I was prepared to see it through. The charity gala's applause still reverberated in my mind as I returned to the city, the $10,000 check and signed contract tucked safely in my desk drawer, a tangible testament to my journey. I woke each morning to the penthouse's serene luxury, the Michelin star plaque and apology letter framed side by side, symbols of a transformation from insult to triumph. The family's shift, Dad's cautious pride, Mom's tearful embrace, Marcus's humbled service, had opened a new chapter, and I was ready to forge it into a lasting legacy. Their poor Lila jibe had ignited my rise, and now I'd shape it into a story of redemption, though the full harmony was still weaving itself together in my heart. The financial windfall became a cornerstone of my vision. I invested the $10,000 into Lila's Table, expanding the mentorship program to include single mothers in hospitality, a personal tribute to my early struggles. Carlos thrived as co-owner, his 10% equity sparking a wave of loyalty among the staff, and we opened a fourth location in a bustling neighborhood, its ribbon-cutting a media spectacle attended by local dignitaries. The cooking show pilot aired, my narrative of resilience resonating with viewers, and the network greenlit a full season with a hefty budget. Ratings climbed steadily, my face becoming recognizable, and I donated a third of the earnings to the scholarship fund, transforming my pain into a broader impact. Investors approached with offers, their interest validating my independence. Marcus's shift at Lila's table proved transformative. He endured a chaotic dinner service, sweating through the apron, juggling orders with a humility I'd never seen. Afterward, he called, his voice raw. "I get it now, Lila. The hours, the stress, it's brutal. I'm sorry." I invited him to the ribbon cutting, and he attended with Sophia, her smile strained but present, a sign of her adapting. Mom and Dad joined, gifting me a refurbished family recipe book filled with Grandma's notes, a gesture I accepted as a bridge to amends. The event drew praise from food bloggers, my staff's stories of my leadership a stark contrast to past family neglect, and I felt the tentative warmth, fragile but promising. Elisa's retreat deepened into near obscurity. Her social media silence stretched for weeks, and Marcus confided, "She's moving out." The pressure broke us. I offered no gloating, focusing on my ascent. The defamation settlement's $5,000 funded a staff wellness program, yoga classes, mental health days, earning me unwavering loyalty. A rival restaurateur proposed a $5 million buyout for the chain, but I declined, valuing my autonomy over quick wealth. The decision strengthened my brand, and new investors lined up, their proposals piling up on my desk. The cooking show's second season was fast-tracked, and I hired a young chef as my sous chef, mentoring her with a grit I'd honed. The family dinner to seal the truce was held at the new location, a neutral and symbolic choice. The table buzzed with nervous energy as Dad handed over a framed family photo, edited to include my restaurant milestones, Mom reading an updated apology. "We deeply regret calling Lila poor and celebrate her extraordinary success with pride." Marcus served the meal, his apron a badge of his growth, and I reciprocated with a toast, to new beginnings and mutual respect. Relatives clapped, their respect palpable, and I distributed cooking show clips and podcast links, my influence rippling outward. The meal ended with shared laughter, a rare harmony, though I maintained firm boundaries, wary of old patterns. One evening, sorting through Mom's gift, I found an old waiter's notepad tucked inside, my early menu sketches scribbled in the margins. Tears welled as I framed it beside the Michelin plaque, a bridge from my humble beginnings to this pinnacle. The podcast hit 100,000 downloads, its finale legacy over labels striking a chord, with comments flooding in. "You redefined family strength." I hosted a live Q&A, sharing tips on overcoming dismissal, document your worth, build your tribe, rise above, and the session trended, boosting my platform. The show's second season filming began, and I expanded the mentorship to a national network, training dozens of aspiring restaurateurs. Professionally, the momentum was unstoppable. A national food magazine featured me as Restaurateur of the Year, and I launched a signature dish, Lila's Legacy, a blend of family recipes and innovation, that sold out nightly. The penthouse filled with awards, each a marker of my journey. Personally, I reconnected with a childhood friend, her support adding warmth to my life. The family visited often, Dad offering business advice, Mom cooking with me, Marcus helping at events, a slow rebuild of trust. Reflecting, my revenge was about redemption, not destruction. Their insults shattered my confidence, but my strategy, ownership reveal, persistence, public rise, rebuilt it into something unbreakable. The waiter's greeting was the spark, their pale faces the climax, and this was my enduring legacy. If you faced family scorn, this is for you. Share your story below. Subscribe to Revenge Tempest for more triumph tales, and hit the bell for updates. Until next time.